Okay, folks, hopefully everybody has their chat window open and you'll see that there's a link now from Chris to the most recent version of the agenda. The one I sent you as an email attachment has been slightly updated. If you want to go ahead and bring that up on your screens while we go forward with the meeting. It says we need access. Okay, it looks like the permissions are closed. Chris, is there any way to make it public?
Yeah, let me check on that real quick.
Okay, thank you, Hope.
Okay. Hope, if you want to try that one more time, just let me know. Awesome.
Thanks. Okay, thanks, Hope.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Michelle? I'm glad you got the invite. Everything went well.
Yes, I did. Thank you. I'm very well. How about yourself?
Good. Very good.
I hope everybody had a nice week.
It wasn't long enough. We need like at least 2 more. Can I have another one?
Absolutely.
Good morning, folks. The link to the agenda is in the chat. Everyone should have access. If you don't, please put a note in the chat and we'll make sure. The agenda that I attached to the email is not necessarily the most recent one. There's been a few tweaks since then. We'll get started in a few minutes. Okay, it's 9:15. The beauty of a virtual platform means that we can pretty much get started on time. So I just a few housekeeping rules. Again, as always, you feel free to raise your hand if you have a question. If you want to put it in the chat, that's fine. If you want to unmute and ask, it's an open forum. It's for all my members, so it's entirely up to you how you want to pose your question if you have any. And as it is, we'll just get started. Okay, and Jessica, I see you're there. So let's go with the update on school lunches with Jessica Ritz from Whitson's.
How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good. So we've been doing our meal distribution since the beginning of the school year. Parents can come pick up on Mondays and Thursdays at High School North, High School South, and Ocean. On Mondays, we pack meals for 3 days worth of breakfast and lunch. And then Thursdays, they get 4 days worth of breakfast and lunch. When the students that came back full day in February started, we started preparing lunch for them in the schools. So that started with just some simple cold options. And then we expanded in March to cooking them hot food. We brought our cooks back into those schools and we prepare. It's a total of about 250 students throughout the district that get hot meals. And, you know, we're excited to hopefully serve everybody else again soon. You know, we've expanded some of our food in the distribution bags. We were doing more fresh fruits and vegetables. This month we have blueberries and strawberries and snap peas and edamame in the bags, just for some different fruits and veggies for them to take home. And we're just continuing to expand upon that as the district changes its schedule. So that's kind of been our update for the school year so far.
Yeah, my daughter was very excited that you brought in pizza.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, we had, we went back with Valentino's and we brought that in for the kids on Fridays again. So that was a fun treat for all of them. And that'll be every Friday. They'll have Valentino's as we move forward. And then as more kids come back, we'll kind of revert back to specials. Schools get it, you know, we'll rotate around and bring in the pizza from the pizzeria for them again, like we were doing last year. So
nice. Now, these are just for the kids who are in full day.
Correct.
Okay.
So any kids that are there, obviously on the half-day schedule in the elementary schools that stay for aftercare, we do have meals for them that the aftercare has access to, you know, but that is more simple things, cold options, bagels, muffins, cereal, things like that. But that's there for those kids that stay longer. And then, yeah, as more kids come for full day, because the state extended their waiver, all students eat for free through the end of September. So as students are in full day, they will all have access to the free meals, and then we'll see what happens if they extend it further. We go back to, you know, people filling out applications for the free or reduced status. So.
Oh, terrific. And I see you're expanding some of your staff as well. I see I think there's an ad on the district site for folks who want to.
So I believe that's for the lunch aides, like in the for the supervision, and so that goes. They're hired through Middletown School District. So the Whitson staff we will be hiring over the summer for next year, just to fill any vacancies. So when we're back full day, we'll be ready with our, well, even if we're back full day this year, but just, you know, we always have job fairs and things like that to hire more staff for the next school year, just for regular changeover that we have.
Yeah, well, we're optimistic that it'll be somewhat better in September.
Yes, yeah, aren't we all?
Does anybody have any questions for Jessica? And she usually has a packed day, but I was grateful that she was able to make some time for us this morning. So if there's is there anyone who may have a question about how things are moving forward or how things are now? Oh, wait, there's a new message. Hang on. Free meals are available for all until when did you say? You said the end of September.
End of September, yep. So they extended that waiver through September, the end of that month. And then October 1st, it would typically, you know, revert back, but, you know, they've extended it a few times. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Okay. All right. If there's no other questions for Jessica, we'll let her go on her merry way, taking care of all the kids in the district.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Yep.
Hi, sorry, I have one quick question.
Sure.
Does the funding for the extended waiver, like I know the state is paying for it, is it part of what we have to use our COVID aid money for that the district got, or is it totally different?
No, it's not
Okay.
related to our district money. It's a separate pot of money and reimbursements to the district.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.
All right, terrific. Thank you, Jessica. Again, I
Great.
really appreciate you making the time.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now we've moved up Middletown Friends of Different Learners because Vera and Sue are filling in for Heather today. So Vera, if you want to go on ahead, because Vera has to leave early. So.
Okay. Real quick, the first item, we have a parent meeting, April 12th. And on the agenda, there's a link for anybody that would like to attend. Also, coming up is a presentation on inclusion in our district. It's going to be co-hosted by the district as well as the New Jersey Coalition for Inclusive Education, Montclair University, and MTFODL. For you that NJCIE, the New Jersey Coalition for Inclusive Education, and Montclair University are working on the grant that we received for the preschool as well as Leonardo. Keep an eye out. It's in planning stages, but I think it would be of interest to anybody to attend, since the research shows that inclusion helps all kids, not just those with special needs. Also coming up on April 13th, Motions is doing a transition presentation specifically for the Middletown School District. For those of you that may not be aware, transition discussions begin with kids with special needs starting at the age of 14, and it can be very complicated. So we're hoping that Motions can help some of the parents as they start these transition process. Also, MTFODL just wanted to note that they were very supportive of the district moving some of the mental health through ESS, which is Effective School Solutions, into the middle school level. Not just high school, but looks like we're moving some into middle school as well. And that's about it.
Okay, we do have a question. Is the NJCIE presentation being done by the same person as last time? I think his name was Fred Buglioni.
Yes, yes, he will be. It'll be a different agenda because I'm sure they're going to cover some of the grant work that's happening. And I believe there'll be also presentations from the district and parents as well. So it's going to be a combined. But he's a spectacular presenter. Thank you for that question, Rachel.
Yeah, I was just going to comment. I went, I guess it was 2 years ago at this point. Obviously, last year was COVID.
Yeah.
And it was remarkable. It was just such an interesting education for me on the benefits of inclusion, where New Jersey ranks kind of nationwide, where Middletown ranked within New Jersey, some of the efforts that other districts have done that have been successful. I thought it was eye-opening. So I strongly encourage everybody, whether or not you have kids who are in special education or not, to attend, because it was really, really well done. This guy is really, really good. So please try to make an effort and really try to spread it out, the information out to your schools to let them know about it. It's, it's worth your hour and a half, whatever it will be. It was great.
Yeah. Well, Vera, I'm pretty sure Heather has all the contact information for the members here, but I'm always CC'd on everything, so I can be sure to just push that out when I get that, just to be sure that everybody is aware.
Yeah, and it'll be marketed or announced shortly. Chris is going to be helping coordinate it as well, so the information will get out there.
Okay. Okay. Is that okay? Is that pretty much everything, or? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. All right. Thank you very much, Vera. And Susan, I guess you're here too. I'm not sure. My display only shows a minimum amount of folks because of the chat and the participant list. All right, Vera, thank you very much. I appreciate the update. Okay, so now we're going to move forward to the implementation of the remainder of the reopening plan and looking ahead to September possibly. I'm not sure who's gonna, I guess the principal representatives will be taking that, Mrs. Walker?
Hold on, I'll do that.
Okay.
I was muted. I always do that. I talk and nobody can hear me.
Mary Ellen,
Better
I'm
off
sorry.
that way.
Mary
All right,
Ellen?
20, yes.
Oh, Kim is here.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying. Wendy just texted me. She needs to get over to Nut Swamp for an emergency. Is there some? Can she just talk about the typing tool so she can head over there?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that, to jump in on this. I'll be brief. I just wanted to update everyone on our new typing initiative. If it's okay, I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. So I can make this available to all of you. Mrs. Pekas, I just shared it with you, so maybe we could post it somewhere or link it on the agenda. I'm just going to go through these real quick, and it's not a whole lot of information, but it's just the basics. The past few years, we all, I think, agree that something that we need to improve upon is our students' typing skills. Although we know it's also hard to fit everything we want to do in the school day. So we've really been looking at ways that we can infuse typing into some of our existing courses and then also into our new K-5 special. So the research on keyboarding, and this was included in a newsletter earlier this year on the new program, but basically it's stuff that makes sense, I'm sure, to all of us. It enables, our students to free up some of their kind of brain power in order to, write better and to have more complex thought processes. Their writing is of higher quality, and research shows that the earlier kids start typing, the better. And the best way to do it is just through frequent, like 15 minutes over the course of a school year, which is pretty much what we've used this research to guide us in some of the decisions we've made regarding typing. So our program that we've adopted is called Typing Pal. It was selected by our K-12 ed techs after piloting it last school year with students and teachers. And it was purchased to support our new K-5 digital literacy and design special, which is now part of our new 6-day rotation schedule. Oh, sorry about that. Which officially started yesterday. Although our digital literacy teachers have been pushing in and doing technology lessons with our students in September. And what was great news to us is that this typing program actually was cheaper for us to buy a district subscription than purchasing 11 school subscriptions. So we were able to get all of our schools access to this platform. And I'll show it to you in a minute so you can kind of see what it looks like. Our new special, digital literacy, was designed not only to improve our students' typing skills, but also we are required now, as part of the new 2020 New Jersey Student Learning Standards through the Department of Education, to teach computer science and design thinking. So that special will also include lessons on computer science and coding, as well as typing. So students in K-12 have registered or are currently registering through their English language arts teachers. Directions were posted on Google Classroom. I actually checked my son's classroom. He's at South. I checked just to make sure his were posted there. But this year being what it is, our students haven't had as much time as we would have liked so far to type, but we suspect next year obviously will be different, fingers crossed. So currently students have opportunities to type in K-5 digital literacy, as I mentioned, and I actually observed a lesson right before break where students were using the platform. I think it was a 3rd grade class. In our middle school advisory, this is one of the options that the students have in their advisory classrooms. And as I said, in high school English courses, which is where it was pushed out to the students. Next year, we're looking at updating our 6th grade Skills for Success, which is formerly our study skills course, which we need to update with standards. We're also going to include typing in that. And in our new 9th grade seminar course, which is kind of that freshman introductory course that we're designing for all incoming high school 9th graders. So they'll have an opportunity to practice their typing in that class as well, along with other technology and kind of digital media skills that are important to be successful in high school. So this is what it looks like on the teacher end. I took off the student names, but these are actually our students. It shows kind of their average accuracy with their typing, their average speed, and then the grade that they would get and compared to the grade of the average of the students in their same class. So this is how teachers can kind of check on the progress. Now, this won't be something that's, obviously graded by the English teachers, but it just shows it's more for the student to see kind of what they need to do, what they need to work on. All right, so I'm just going to show you kind of what this platform looks like. Are you able to see that new screen, Typing Pal?
Yes.
Perfect. So this is kind of on the back end. This is a teacher account, but I'll show you what it looks like for students. So it's self-paced. So students work through at their own, as much time as they want to give it as of now. Like I said, when this becomes more of an official rollout next school year, they'll have designated times. But right now, if a student, let's say, finishes their work early, or if they're working on an advisory, it is self-paced and they can kind of, you know, do it whenever they want to do it, or when their teacher instructs them to. So here's kind of what it looks like. Okay, so you'll see it kind of tells them what their goal should be, their target goal. And then it shows them where their fingers should be placed. And then you'll see it just times them. So they just have to. See, I'm a terrible typist, by the way. And you'll see that, yeah, I'm the first to admit it. But you'll see that it has like little cartoon graphics, and the graphics are different depending on the grade level. So they're all cartoony. Really, this program is more meant for K-8, but I think our high schoolers actually are liking it. But for the little guys, the cartoons are kind of like cutie, you know, cutesy little teddy bears and things like that. For the older kids, they try to make it a little more teen friendly. So that's really the gist of it. And like I said, they work through these modules at their own pace and kind of get little rewards and little sound effects and things like that, which make it fun for the kids.
So do you move up through and start with keyboard placement and these letters, and then move on to full words and sentences?
Right.
Is that how it progresses, so that you're actually, the big brown dog jumped over the something or other? Yeah. Okay.
Exactly right. Yep.
I can use this.
I know, right? I was thinking of I was going on the other day just in preparation of this, and I'm like, wow, I really should get on this myself, because again, I'm not the best typist. And while it hasn't necessarily held me back substantially, I think about all the time I could have saved being more efficient by being a better typist. So yeah. I think this is something that we will see a difference next year when our kids start getting on this platform on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Mrs. Morales, thank you for that. In the middle school, I noticed, other than 6th grade, the reference, and I apologize if I get it wrong, but the reference was to using this during advisory. A lot of kids receive related services during advisory. So is this something that for kids that get related services, would this be something they could use at home or somewhere else? Because I had a child that had typing in elementary school, and then one that didn't, or two that don't, and the difference is just incredibly, they are not proficient at all compared to where my oldest was. So I'm just wondering what kids that are pulled out of advisory, how they can get those skills.
Yeah, I completely agree, and had the same exact situation with my two kids. My oldest one can type, and my second isn't strong. So I completely understand. As I said, you're right. The 6th grade study skills will be one area, and then it is being pushed out through their English classes. So they will have time once the blocks go back to the normal time. See, now, of course, they're shortened. So the teachers are, having to shorten a lot of the things they normally work on, but it is pushed out through English because the kids do the most writing in English classes. So they'll have like opportunities for do nows or, choice time that they usually have to work on different things, or as like an exit ticket, the kids will have time during their English period as well.
Could it be accessible at home?
Yep, it's accessible anytime, anywhere.
Oh, terrific.
That includes summer? Like, will they be able, and my kids will kill me, but
I know, right? Mine's too. Yep, it's a full year subscription. So we renew every by July 1st of every year. So
I was thinking it would be cool, similar to like what the library does with summer reading. And I know the kids, based on their grade level, have summer reading requirements as well. Maybe typing could be included to try to get them like to advance X levels over the summer, and you get like, I don't know, a homework pass or something, which actually is counterintuitive. But I don't know. I feel like any sort of carrot we can give them. I have the same situation, and I have identical twins, and one had a teacher who pushed the typing thing. I think it was called Typing Club then in 2nd grade, and one didn't. And like the difference in their skills, it's like this amazing little experiment. So I think it's huge. I know my girls are all in middle school now, so they're kind of in that gap where they didn't get it like old school style like I did. You know, in 6th grade at Thompson, I had keyboarding in 6th grade with activity arts. And then my little one got a little more. But there's like this chunk of kids, and I'm realizing as they get older and get more and more homework, it really affects how long it takes them to complete their homework. And then when standardized testing comes in and they have to type their responses, you know, their ability to communicate their answer effectively, like it really has a lot of impact. So anything you guys can do to really push and make it fun for the kids is great. I think this tool is awesome. And I know I'll push it on my kids, and to the extent you guys can really push it in school too, I think that will help them a lot long term. It's like one of those life skills you don't realize how much it impacts you until, you know, you're in the real world.
Absolutely. And I love that idea. That's a great idea for this a summer challenge. I'm going to work on that.
Okay.
Thank
Are
you.
there any other questions from Mrs. Morales before she needs to go? Okay. All right. Go. Thank you very much.
Have a good one. Thank
Thank you very much. Take care, Ms. Morales. Take care. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. And now we'll go back up to the implementation for the remainder of the reopening plan with Mrs. Walker.
Thank you, Margie. Okay, we're still working on our basically 2 steps that are left in implementing our reopening plan, and that is middle school right now is going almost every week, 4 days a week, but they're still not at the 5-day-a-week place that the elementary and the high schools are. And we're working on organizing lunches when it's safe to do so. And for both of them, we're looking at the data. That's really important. And I don't know if you've seen, but over the, we really had a dip in February, early March, and then it started to rise again. So we're watching that carefully. Let's see, what else do we have next year? And that's it for this year. That once we get that going, then we're fully through the reopening plan. Next year, I mean, you've heard that the governor first came out 2 weeks ago saying there'll be no virtual next year. And then the next week he came out and said, well, yeah, there will be virtual for certain people, students that have health issues or whatever. So what we're doing, and what every district across the state is doing, is we're waiting for some guidance from the state. We're pushing for some guidance from the state. But the state, like every individual district, when we make these decisions, they're based on the health data, and they're kind of last minute a lot of times because the health data changes, and we're waiting for, is it going to improve? Then we'll go forward with full days next year, which we're hoping for. Don't know what type of protocols that will have to be in place. And for instance, will the students have to wear masks, that type of thing. We will be, unless we hear otherwise, we will be planning for full implementation of our regular schedule, full day. But of course, we'll have some backup plans in case that changes over the summer. So that's kind of where we are. There's nothing set in stone at this point, and we're just hoping for the best. We're hoping with the vaccines that's going to make a big change. There are some variants out there that are causing upticks in areas around the country, and hopefully that these vaccines are good enough to cover them. Right now, they're saying on April 19th, the governor is going to open up the vaccines for students 16 or children 16 and older. And I think it's with certain conditions, but I'm not sure. It wasn't clear. But I was surprised to hear that, and this was a while ago, I heard that, children 16 and up could get it. I don't know if they will or not, but they'll be eligible at some point, which will help at the high school level. So I'm sure some parents will opt to do that. So, the more that get vaccine, the less likely, it will spread, and the better the health data we'll get, and we'll be able to move forward. All right. Does anybody have any questions? I don't have any solid answers, unfortunately.
Well, at this point, vaccines will not be mandatory, correct? I mean, you're not, okay.
No, I don't foresee that happening at all.
Okay.
As a district, we would not mandate that, and I don't see that happening as a state.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, Margie.
Well, sure. Go ahead, Hope. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to check on one thing, because my understanding is currently if a student is sent home with symptoms, but they don't have any identifiable exposure, that they can use a rapid COVID test that is negative to return to school. And I'm just curious why we're not mandating the more reliable test that might take a couple of days longer to return. Because the rapid test, I think, has been shown to not catch, they could be inaccurate up to 60% of the time for the asymptomatic infections. So just if you know, if our goal is to maintain openings with little like transmission, how come we're not mandating the more accurate COVID tests?
Matt, Devin isn't here today, so I'm not sure what the test is, but these are asymptomatic students if they're going home. They're not asymptomatic. That's one thing. So if they have symptoms, then they are symptomatic. But I'm not sure if that's accurate.
I'll have to check on that, Marion, but whatever procedure we have, it is aligned with the guidelines of the health department.
Exactly. We follow the guidance of the New Jersey Department of Health. Like I keep saying, we are not the health experts, so we don't want to vary from that one way or the other. We don't want to be too stringent on one side or too lax on the other, because that's not what we do.
We've been very careful not to behave in a rogue manner and to follow the guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
You can't follow the guidelines for some things and not for the others. So we've tried to be as consistent as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So just a question, has there been any discussion about, I think this is what Hope was saying, has there been any discussion about test out procedures? I'm thinking particularly of athletes that are now going into, they missed their whole season last year. And for many of them, this year is very important. So we actually have coaches and athletes actually deciding to stay home so that they don't get stuck in a web of quarantine, being within 6 feet, even though they have masks, shields, everything. They would be required to quarantine for 14 days. So we're losing people to actually being in school. I'm just wondering if there's been any discussion about allowing some of these kids to test out.
Vera, we agree with you. We want our athletes to be in school and we want them to be able to participate. But you'll see this in every school in the whole state, maybe the country, I don't know. The athletes are opting to be virtual because they don't want to get caught up in contact tracing. And contact tracing, the protocols are clearly defined and laid out by the state, by the Department of Health. And it's based on it changes. The protocols change depending on what risk level your region is in. Right now, New Jersey has all gone to high risk again. We were down to only 2, I think it was the end of February, we were down to only 2 regions, our region, Central East being one, were the only 2 still in red, and the rest of the state was in moderate. And little by little, every week, it's gone up, so the entire state is now in red. But if your region is in red, you follow more stringent contact tracing guidelines than you do if your region is in moderate or low. So each time it changes, the protocols change. So as Mr. Kirkpatrick says, we follow the protocols. And it's really important for athletes too. I mean, I know how important sports are, but we've had a couple of instances where our students have been knocked out because another school has let, I'm not saying they let or they knew, but an athlete has played and our students have gotten caught up in the contact tracing of that other school because their student was positive that played the game, came later. And I do believe we did that once to another team. So it's not just sitting in the classroom. It's not even just practicing with your team. Other schools are actually impacting our students' ability to play sports too. But that's because it's the contact tracing rules. And it's probably a good thing because it's keeping, we do know that kids that get contact traced are more likely. We've seen it to be the students positive, much more likely to be positive than someone else in a classroom or in the sport or in, whatever area they're in that wasn't contact traced. So it does work. It does work to keep the spread down in our schools. And as I said, it changes with the level. So right now we're at a very stringent level. And hopefully as we, the weather gets nicer and people move outdoors more, things, will calm down in our region and we'll be able to move to that less restrictive protocol.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, I said athletics, but I think it would be useful if any extracurricular, whether it was a band or acting or whatever it might be, was allowed to test out, because all of that is very important. I think us seeing the data, I know the nurses all have it, on how many kids who have been contact traced because they've been sitting masked and shielded in a classroom, how many of those actually tested positive, would be very useful, and would be very useful to the district in whatever procedures they decide to set up in the future. I think that would.
Like I said, Vera, we don't set up the procedures. We follow the state procedures, and that's what we do. Like as I said before, that's not for us educators to make that decision. It's the New Jersey Department of Health, and it is clearly spelled out. And when we talk to our health, whether it's the health department or a physician, it is clear guidelines that really have to be followed to keep our schools safe. Because if we start making our own rules, you're making it a little bit more lax or letting different things happen, we're going to see more spread, and you're going to be more likely to close instead of, one sport, multiple sports, or a school. Right now, what we try to do is when we see that there's, someone positive, we do the contact tracing and those students are quarantined. If we see it go beyond that, we try to carve out the area, whatever that is, whether it's the whole class, whether it's a grade level, whether it's a sport, we try to identify, okay, what group is this possibly spreading within? And then just, have them quarantine or be outside of school or their sport for the required time so that it doesn't spread to the rest of the school. So we're not gonna vary from what is required. That's it's not a decision that we're gonna make.
Okay, I think for us parents, we hear guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is what is confusing to some of us. We hear guidelines, and we hear different states doing different things, so it can be confusing. So the guidelines you're following as mandates.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what the schools are following. These are the guidelines for schools. Now, I don't think there's any public schools that are not following those guidelines. There may be private schools, but public schools are and the larger schools. It's more difficult in larger schools to manage this, believe me, than it is in a smaller school.
So there's no benefit really that we rushed to get our teachers vaccinated sooner than other districts either then. Because it seems that
there absolutely is. Well, we were having a staffing issue, as you know. I mean, we were having difficulties. Our staff was being quarantined and getting ill. More quarantine issues than anything that was a major part of there were other issues that were causing, the staffing issue, but the quarantining of teachers was pretty much like the icing on the cake.
I understand. I'm just talking about in terms of following the guidelines, that we are looking at our district as equal to every other district, when actually we are further ahead than most districts. People haven't even started to get their teachers vaccinated in other districts. So that's all. Back to Vera's point.
The important part of it is now we do not have to quarantine our teachers. If you are vaccinated and you are within 6 feet of somebody and you're one of our staff members, you don't have to stay home now. You can come in and be in the classroom because you've been vaccinated. So that has been an immense help for our district in keeping classrooms open and keeping kids in school and with their teachers standing in front of them. And also, there's teachers are people, the virus doesn't say I'm only going to spread among students. I mean, the virus spreads among everybody in school. So, every single person that we can get vaccinated is just one less person to be spreading a virus in the school. So in that essence, it's really well, works really well too. But I would think the biggest impact we have is on keeping our staff in school in front of our students and not have to worry about closing school or classroom because we don't have a teacher, or having kids sit in a classroom with a substitute and their teacher on a screen for 2 weeks. Now that's really tough for kids. So that has been an amazing impact. And the fact that we did it first and got our teachers in there first has really helped. Where our staffing issues have really gone down a lot.
I also think it's important because then the teachers aren't getting sick, like not just the impact on the school and our kids, they're protected. Their health is protected. I think that's the most important thing. These people are critical. We don't want them getting sick or dying. So I think them getting vaccinated soon, of course, is wonderful. Like that would never have been a bad decision. One quick question, is there any way you have data that you can share on at each school level, on average, how many kids are getting quarantined for each positive case? Because my daughters and I were talking about it, and it seems like in middle school, they have, 6 blocks a day. If they are within 6 feet of 8 kids in each class, that's like 48 kids just from classes who could be quarantined because of that one kid. If they're on the bus, then you have the bus kids too. So is there, what's the domino? If you have one positive case, how many are getting sent home on average?
You know what? It varies so much. You have a school where the classrooms are bigger and the class sizes are smaller, you're going to have a lot fewer students quarantined than if you have a full class in a smaller classroom. And some of our buildings have larger classrooms and smaller class sizes, and some of them have, like River Plaza has smaller classrooms and larger class size, more students actually in attendance. I'm not saying class size, but students actually that are not virtual but present, 5 days a week. So it really does change. And at the high school and the middle school level, obviously, you have the student changing classes. So that's going to make a bigger impact on the situation. So, it really, by giving you a number, it's not gonna tell us anything. All we do is if you were in 6 feet, then you are going to be, for more than 15 minutes, then you will be in a situation where you'll be quarantined.
Sorry, one more question that's Thompson specific. We got the notification yesterday that there were 8 new cases at Thompson. Was that like a backlog of stuff that came in over break? Okay.
No, it was stuff that came in Monday, but a lot of it was from break. Parents kind of waited till Monday to let us know. And so that's what that was. That happened throughout the district. It was a banner day, but those students hadn't been in school for 10 days. So,
Thank you.
Sorry, I just have one more thing to say back to Rachel, your comment. I just want to be very clear that what I was asking Mrs. Walker was if about the guidelines. It was not a comment on the teacher shouldn't have been vaccinated or not vaccinated or if it helped or not. It was a comment on the guidelines, back to Vera's point. So I just want to be really clear about that. It had nothing to do with whether or not it was beneficial. We all know that it was beneficial. It was about it being a change in the guidelines. Now that the guidelines have gone to 3 feet, we have teachers vaccinated. If anything was helpful with quarantine. So I just want to be really clear on that and not have my words get twisted. Thank you.
I just want to add one. I heard it differently. I guess I heard you saying what was the benefit of getting the teachers vaccinated then. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
I just want to add one. Can I add one thing? This is Denise Thompson. I know we talked about, the impact of contact tracing on the athletes and extracurriculars. The other impact are the students who really need to be in the building. I mean, I had a friend who had, a child who struggles online and was caught up obviously in the contact tracing. And it was a hard couple of weeks for her because of the challenges, she faces with being virtual. So it's kind of an impact across the board. So I recognize that, the numbers are high right now, but I just think we need to keep a sort of a pulse on this across the board. And if you're looking at 48 kids and no one is contracting the virus at that point, I just feel like I understand that there's the guidelines and where we want to follow them, but some common sense and sort of forward thinking, going forward, just, to what Jackie said, we've got teachers vaccinated, we're 3-4 feet away, whatever the new guideline is, we're behind shields, we're behind masks. I feel like when do we get to take that step forward and just kind of keep looking at that,
When the health data shows us that we can do that, right now we're seeing students being positive when they're within, actually, we've seen students lately that aren't even within that 6 feet radius being that's kind of a difference we're seeing right now, that there's, maybe a student that's outside that radius that now is getting positive. And we had not seen that before. So, this is what we're looking at, there's been a change in what we've seen over the last probably not the week we were off, the 2 weeks prior to that, there's been a change.
And if I can just add to Denise, I mean, I also have personal experience with a friend, special needs, horrible virtual learning, panic attacks, etc. I mean, I would just ask the district to consider looking at some of those cases individually, because they do test out when they've been contact traced, and it's very traumatic for those children and their families. So I would just ask that to be considered. Also, given the amount of positives that some of the schools have had, what are the rules surrounding contact tracing when somebody has tested positive? Is it still 90 days that they will not be sent home if they're within the realm of contact tracing, or I'm not sure what the rules are.
Devin really should be here to answer these questions, because this is what she does all day, every day. So she's the expert. I do believe that that's the case, but
it's my understanding that the 90-day is still in place.
Thank you.
We do have a couple of questions here. Danielle, I'm not really sure what your question speaks to. I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit, because
yeah, no, my question was just that you talked about the teachers not having to quarantine. If a student is vaccinated, do they not have to quarantine?
I'm sorry. Matt just sent me some information I was reading. He just said that the health department takes the first test, whether it's what type, it doesn't matter what type of test it is. So
as do we.
Yeah, as do we. I'm sorry.
For Danielle, Mrs. Walsh's question was whether or not once the students get vaccinated, if they will not have to quarantine. And we haven't had that conversation, Mrs. Walker, and the health department hasn't addressed that because students being vaccinated is such a new and evolving situation.
The first one, from what I heard on the news, the first 16-year-old and up that will be vaccinated, will even have eligibility, will be April 19th. And then they have to get the Pfizer shot. They can't get the Moderna because only the Pfizer shot or the Johnson & Johnson, only Pfizer has been tested. So that is at least a 5-week process. So, at the best, it would be the beginning of June if someone got an appointment right away, that they would be fully vaccinated at that point.
All right, and we do have a question, just to clarify, students are not allowed to test negative and come back prior to the 14-day if they were contact traced and identified as being a close contact.
I believe that is the case right now while we are in high, where we're in the high risk zone, where we're in that red, our region. Once we go to moderate, then we, that's relaxed. And I believe that testing is something that can be done. We just can't stress enough the importance of the whole community getting together and, just trying to get our numbers down.
Yeah, well,
County has been bad, and I'm not saying Middletown has been worse than the rest of Monmouth County, but Monmouth County has been, for our region, it's been a sore spot.
Another consideration, can prior positives avoid quarantine after 90 days if they have an antibodies test that shows they still have the antibodies?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I think it's just the 90 days, and that's a clear-cut number.
Yeah, you don't have to have the antibody test, I guess.
Yeah, and there's just a couple of observations that there are some 16-year-olds because of underlying conditions have been vaccinated, and some students that have been vaccinated because of the job that they do.
I don't believe any 16-year-olds in New Jersey were allowed to be vaccinated, but I could be wrong. I think that's what's coming up on April 19th or 16th.
Hi, I'm sorry. I've actually been helping make appointments for people. I've been volunteering my time to do it. It actually has been for probably about 8 weeks now. 16 to 64 with underlying medical conditions are eligible to be vaccinated. And you do have students in Middletown who have been vaccinated because I've actually made appointments for them.
Okay. it hasn't been brought
So
to my
they're,
attention that we've had any contact tracing for them, so I can't say.
yeah,
I really wish I had Devin here today, but you know, we didn't know these would be the questions. I'm sorry. And
yeah, no,
can tell
I,
you all the answers to these, you know, in a second.
yeah,
And why.
no, I understand. I just do know that the 16 to 64 has been for about 8 weeks now. As of April 19th, it will be open to 16 and over with no underlying medical conditions. And again, like you said, the Pfizer vaccine. I guess my concern would just be for when they decide that they're going to open it from 12 to 16, and if the state removes any of those exemptions or the state mandates, how, you know, what does Middletown obviously would have to follow the state mandate, correct?
It's the Department of Health that the New Jersey Department of Health that sets these guidelines. Yes.
Mrs. Walker, that's obviously a conversation that we can facilitate with the health department next time we meet with them, and let them know that some of the concerns are coming in, that children are getting vaccinated and what the quarantine time is going to look like.
Because they work directly with the State Department, so you know they can find information and share information and our questions.
Okay, and we do have another question. What is the current protocol being followed after travel? An email on March 15th said students wouldn't be allowed back until they quarantined for 10 days.
There was a follow-up email that provided the direct link to the State Department. Actually, it was it's the CDC guidance, which the State Department guidance just links to, and that's exactly what we follow. So it is, you're supposed to, and the way it was worded is that, you know, it's voluntary, but how did they word?
It's expected, but not mandatory.
Yeah.
Okay, and one more question in the chat. Is there plans to go back to full day this school year?
We're working on it, you know, we're working on lunch. There are a lot of hurdles. We're at the point where we have posted for our lunch aides, and we are going to start interviewing this week, I believe, for them. But when we go, we're not sure. We started all this when the health data was really good. It was really trending great, and then it trended bad. So we're hoping, to see another dip so that we can do this and get this going for the school year. We think that it's important. Our students are missing instructional time, not just in person, but they are missing instructional time every day in the afternoon. There are small group and, that type of targeted interventions, but there's no regular classes. So, if you go back and look at the I think it was at the board meeting last month, there was information about, how we're doing on, our students are doing academically, and we're doing really good. Our students are really progressing, but there are some little gaps here and there, and we kind of attribute that to the fact that we have shorter days, just can't fit everything in with the practice and, that they normally get. So we're really looking to go there as soon as we can.
Okay, it looks like Mr. Paulson has posted the link to the travel restrictions in the chat for anybody who's interested. And another question, while you are determining protocols around students that have been vaccinated, please keep in mind how students will provide that proof, whether it is cards or some other method from providers, etc.
Okay.
Okay, well, we've hopefully we've exhausted this topic, and folks are at least satisfied with how well everybody's tried to answer the questions without doubt. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mrs. Walker, Mr. Kirkpatrick. I know it was kind of a tough go here. Is there any other wrap-up question before we move on to the, I guess we're kind of hopping around, so we're on strategic planning, I believe. All right, why don't we move forward to strategic planning in the interest of time? I'm not really sure who we throw that one to.
Good morning. How are you? It's Frank Capone.
Oh, hi, Frank. How are you?
Good, good. I'm assuming everybody wants me to speak about this, so I'll just jump in here.
Sure.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed their spring break. I'm sure it was well needed for us all. Myself and Mrs. Minuis, President Minuis, met with Mike Zuba on March 30th. Very nice man. Never had a time to really get to know him, but it was a very nice call. We had about 30-minute Zoom call with him. He did advise that his contractual obligation was fulfilled as of December, but he still did have no problem meeting with us to discuss previous and what he feels going forward. He did advise that he could do anything that we asked him, not in a new contract, but as a per diem case. Things that we spoke about, just minor bullet points, were additional seats at middle school level, elementary consolidation. He did advise that in the prior discussions throughout the year or two, definitely he believed there was a capital outlay plan that needed to be in effect prior to redistricting. He did say that nothing should be done before the September enrollment post-COVID numbers, because he believes that if we have a capital plan and a strategic plan, capital plan and a redistricting plan, you don't want to do that twice. And he said that the 2021-22 school year enrollment could actually affect those numbers. His biggest point was that 2024, which I do agree with him, looks like on our chart to be the most challenging year for students and enrollment. So he would like that to be an ideal timeline to have whatever our capital plan / redistricting plan is before that date. And that's really all we really spoke about. It was a nice meeting, and if I have any questions, I could try and answer them for everybody.
Quick question. If the contract was up in December, is it budgeted to continue a relationship with them on a non-per diem basis moving forward to kind of continue the strategic planning moving along?
Like I said, he was a great guy, a nice man. I don't know how much you would really continue the conversation without really having a contract in place. He gave us his exact ideas and thought philosophy for moving forward. I think that is actually what we should do at this point. And obviously, me and President Minuis would like to discuss this with the district on a whole. When that time is right, I would think that sometime over the summer would be the good time. And then we could discuss and see how we can move forward if Mike Zuber is who we want to go with, because he actually did all the work already. It's already done. Yeah. It's more or less just finding out the way to implement it the correct way with some of his advice. So that's why I would think that a per diem would cost us a lot less than just throwing a number, another $50,000 contract with them. And obviously we didn't even speak numbers of what that per diem number would be, but we can speak to them and find out and see which way it's best for our district.
Okay. Was there money in the tentative budget that was approved for strategic planning services by anybody?
I don't believe there was, no.
So we did this whole strategic planning process over the past year and a half, but didn't budget to continue it?
I wasn't on at that prior years.
But for this budget, it wasn't included or discussed by the board that we would need to have funds to be able to continue the effort that was started?
So I'll say this one more time. Mike Zuber advised us that his contractual obligation expired in December, unbeknownst to myself. That's why I didn't know this even existed at this point. I thought there was still money left over that we were able to continue on at this point.
Okay.
That's why it took so long to get together with him. We weren't aware of this.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let me just double check it. I don't see any questions in the chat. Is there anyone who would like to speak to strategic planning before we move on to the Board of Ed update? Okay, Jackie and Frank, I turn it over to you for the Board of Ed update.
Not sure what other update everybody wanted from me, but I gave. But I will say that the conversation was very good with Mrs. Zuber, and anything that we really need at this point, I believe these last couple of years we already have what we need to take place and to move forward and make a decision based upon the prior strategic planning that has been implemented.
And I just wanted to add to that. Our budget is not finalized. We just did a tentative budget, and there's still changes being made. So, whether it is or isn't in the budget, it's just something we can discuss. I don't know. I mean, we have 170 million dollar budget. We're talking about maybe a $10,000 item. It might not even be a separate line item, something like that. So, but we can look into that with Amy.
Okay.
Yes.
Frank, anything else, or?
That's it. I mean, if anybody else has questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them. And the last thing, actually, I just wanted to ask, I don't know if Mrs. Walsh is on the phone, on the line, but the President's Council, if she did have a date for that, because I didn't get any information yet regarding that. Myself and Ms. Minuise is actually the Board of Ed officials for that.
Yeah.
No one ever told me who the Board of Ed reps were. I always just invited one or two of the board. I don't think the President's Council's ever had reps, but no, there's not a date yet for the next meeting.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And I actually just wanted to say something else because Mrs. Pickus just, she just texted me. She said, while we were talking, she was looking up, she just went on to see the school guidance. And she said, late yesterday, the Department of Ed just posted some updates. On, you know, for non-healthcare settings, which may be school. So we have to look at that. There may actually be some changes in that. We haven't even got emailed about it. Usually they email us that. So this is late breaking news. So what we told you today is right as of today, but who knows, going forward, there are changes. They just changed it at the end of March. They changed it in January. They changed it again at the end of March. So let's see what's, you know, what these changes are.
Yeah, if you go on the Department of Health, New Jersey Department of Health website, I was just clicking around because that's where we usually go if we're not hearing anything from the Department of Ed, you know, and we feel like maybe we're missing something. And there are updates. There's 2 of them posted from yesterday. So we were on there yesterday morning and they weren't there. So they must have came on later in the day. And we have, as Mrs. Walker just said, we have not received anything from the Department of Ed yet, who usually funnels it down to us. But so we're going to go over it today and see what's included, what's new. But anybody can access it because it's on the NJDOH guidelines. And I'm looking at it right now. I just did a lot of clicking. You have to do a lot of clicking, but it's guidance for fully vaccinated persons in non-healthcare settings, updated 4/5/2021, and updated COVID-19 quarantine timeframes, updated 4/5/21. I'll put the, I'm gonna copy and paste the link into the chat right now in case anybody wants to look at it later.
That would be great. I'd appreciate that, Kim. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Pickus. Okay, I don't see any, okay, there we go. There's the link from Mrs. Pickus. I don't see any more questions or observations in the chat. So we'll move on. We have old business. I don't know if any folks want to have anything brought up from a previous meeting or new business. Because if not, well, just a quick reminder that the last meeting for the year is May 4th. We'll probably, it looks like pretty good that we're going to be touching on the summer remedial and enrichment programs at that time. And I'm sure there are going to be other things. Again, as always, members, please feel free to email me with any sort of concerns or questions. I will get them either on the agenda and or to the administration for addressing before the meeting or during the meeting. I thank everybody for their time today. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the few weeks before I see you again on the 4th. And take care, be well. And thank you very much again for your time this morning.
Bye-bye.
Take care.